Welcome. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Magnificat and the prayer books that we offer for you. This is the Magnificat, and this is the Living Faith for children, and then this is the Living Faith for adults. What I'd like to do is briefly explain to you the Living Faith for adults, because I've had a lot of questions about how to use the Magnificat with Living Faith with adults. The Magnificat is divided out into three sections. The first section has what's known as editorial, and there's three parts to this section. There's a longer article, then there's a medium-sized article by two guest editors, and then finally there's this one short article, usually one sheet, two sides, from the editor-in-chief, Monsignor James Turrell. Now, I find that always worth reading. The other two can be interesting, but sometimes can be a little bit lengthy and maybe a little bit hard to understand, but worth glancing at if you're interested in doing the reading. I always do it on the first of the month. Now, at the very back, we go to a section that, the very, very back, just short of a couple of pages from the back, they usually take a painting. And see, today we have a famous painting that's in Florence by a named Martin Schougauer. And he was a great artist in the time, and this one's called The Madonna in the Rose Garden. And it's explained in detail as to how it came about and where it is. It's, again, if you like artwork, it's a wonderful. I always look at it, and sometimes I find it very interesting. But the bulk of the book is in this centerpiece, and as you can see, there's a lot of pages, always about 400 or 500 pages. I don't necessarily read every single page of everything, but let's just go to day one, which will be July 1st in this case. This is also divided into three sections. There's a morning prayer, then there is a Mass of the day, followed by a reflection, and then you have the evening prayer. Now, followed by the saints of the day. Now, the saint is sometimes, if you've read these, is sometimes an extraordinarily peculiar saint, and I don't always read them. I must confess myself, there are somewhat obscure saints that I even myself have not heard of. But the part that I always read, I sometimes do morning prayer, sometimes do evening prayer, but I use another book for those most often. But I always read is the Mass of the day. Now, for you, I advise that you could just do the Old Testament prayer or the New Testament first reading, responsorial psalm. But even if you run out of time, to always just do the Gospel. It's generally a very short passage. You see here, it's only 4 verses long. Now, what sometimes is, and on the next page here that follows this, is called the Meditation of the Day. Now, this is sometimes also very helpful, but unfortunately, sometimes it can be very intellectual, written by some saint in the old era, using oftentimes old or difficult English to understand. So if after the first couple of lines you don't understand what's been said, just skip over it and move to something else. What I'd like to do then is explain to you that to go to also the Living Faith for adults. Now, this is the one I use always with when I do these readings. You go to page 1 on July 1st, you'll see down here is the very readings we just would have read in this book. And then they always have a quote right here. And this is a quote from the Gospel today. And you'll see that's a direct quote from this section right here. Now, in here is a reflection on the Gospel to our lives. I always find that incredibly insightful for me. But also, I always do is a Living Faith for kids, so that I can relate to the children and be able to preach to them. Also, if you look up at July 1st, you'll see that they also have a gospel passage, and you'll see it's actually the same passage as well. And they have a reflection on the day. And again, it's done from the angle of a children's sort of mind. So these are the options we give to you: a Living Faith for children, Living Faith for the adults, and then the Magnificat here. And we really encourage you to pray with all three of these. We do believe in the power of prayer, and that's why we invest in giving all these out for free. We do ask you to take one, and we ask you above all else to pray with them. God bless you all.